Morgan, I can't wait to chat about how your remix of an absolute classic and its official release came together with Florence the Machine. And can't wait to get to know you better. Morgan Seatree, welcome to America's Dance 30 for the first time.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, it's a pleasure to chat. And I can't wait to get stuck into it all.
Congratulations on the amazing success of Say My Name with Florence and the Machine.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind of the last sort of since the release. You know, I didn't really expect it to go as well as it did. And yeah, I'm just riding the wave right now.
Well, I can't wait to talk about how this remix came together. But first, let's get to know Morgan Seatree a little better with Finky's Firsts.
Yep, let's go.
So I always love finding out the origin story of artists. Now, honestly, I know nothing about you, so I can't wait to learn. When you were growing up, was music the first thing you wanted to get into, or was there something else you wanted to be when you were growing up?
Yeah, so it was a kind of a bit different for me. I kind of got into music when I was around about 16, so I'm 26 now. So it was kind of from when I was leaving school, and we all started going to like house parties, and that's when we really started to get introduced to like house music and things like that. But before that, I was actually like I used to want to be a magician. I used to do like card tricks and things like that. Yeah, I love cooking. So like there's been a bunch of career things where like maybe I could be a chef, maybe I could be a magician. And then here we are, and now I'm a DJ and making music. So yeah, it kind of took a bit of a weird turn.
That's definitely a crazy road. Now, do you still practice magic?
No, so my mum actually always says like because I used to do the card tricks at like Christmas time and things like that, and I'm like I'm pretty sure I've forgotten all the tricks now. But like if I watched a couple of YouTube videos, I reckon I've still got all like the cards and things that I had. So I think I might have to bring that out at one of the shows maybe, and add a little bit in.
Isn't it so funny how our parents always want us to do the tricks that we did as kids?
Yeah. Like she says, I wish you still knew how to do those. I used to love those. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm sorry.
Now, what does she think of your career now?
Oh yeah, she loves it. She comes to like all of the big shows that I do that are kind of local to me. She's always there in the back, dancing and yeah, it's good because it's been kind of a 10-year journey and seeing it go from like the ground up, and then you then being able to do all these shows with thousands of people. And create those moments. It's incredible.
Now, speaking of starting at the ground up, I mean, you're performing all over the world. You just recently sold out the show at your first ever rave. Do you remember the first time performing for a crowd?
Yeah, well, it wasn't the biggest crowd. Like the first gig I did was actually in a bagel shop, believe it or not.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so we in Manchester here we had like a bagel shop, and it was like in the day it was a bagel shop, and then at night they'd like turn it into like a venue and a bar, but they'd like serve bagels, pastrami's, and things like that. So it's kind of like a raver's paradise. You've got the tunes on, and then they're whipping up like Reuben sandwiches and things, and it was like I was there just like spinning my tunes, and there was probably about 5 or 6 people there. And then but to me at the time I was like, this is amazing, like this is so cool. I'm playing music, these guys might be eating the bagel but they're like loving it. And then that was like literally as ground up as it gets from where it's going.
That is amazing. Can you imagine what those 5 or 6 people think now?
I know, I don't even know. They were probably my friends. I mean, I think maybe I had like 5 or 6 of my friends, and then maybe a couple of people who were just like in there. But yeah, that'd be, I mean, if they was to see what I'm doing now, they'd probably be in disbelief that they probably didn't know that was my first ever show that they were at.
That is so amazing. Like, I think back to, I met Britney Spears before she was Britney Spears, and she was like 15 or 16, and she was in the hallway, and I remember walking down the hallway, and one of our employees said, "Hey, Fink, this is Britney," and I'm like, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you." And that was it. Yeah. And now, I mean, come on.
You wish you got the signature now.
I wish. Now, is Morgan Seatree your real name?
Yeah, I get asked this a lot. Yeah. So it was funny because when I first started DJing, I was like to my mum, like, I need to think of a DJ name. I'm like, I need, because you hear of these aliases. You've got like, Fisher. You've got all these guys, and they've got all these names. And I'm like, well, what can my name be? And she was like, no, like your name is quite unique in itself. Like Seatree is very weird in a way. Like people do ask me, like, that's, how did you think of that? And I'm like, it's just my name. Like, I didn't choose it. Yeah, but I'm so glad that I did stick with it, because you don't have to. That's just who I am, and people. It's got kind of a ring to it, and even the way it's laid out when you see it in writing, it's quite recognizable. So yeah.
Now, do you remember the first dance song that made you fall in love with EDM?
I think, well, I was a massive fan, and I still am, of Disclosure, and it wasn't really. I mean, back when I was getting into it, it was more kind of like deep house, a lot slower. And Disclosure kind of at the time, they have like the tracks like White Noise, You and Me, and in the UK they were massive tunes. I'm not too sure how they traveled across to America, but like a lot of that stuff, and a lot of like the old piano house tracks, which is very prominent with Manchester and the music in Manchester. Now, like, that's the stuff that kind of really got me into it. And then, from there, you kind of just find your own taste, and you kind of take all those inspirations, and then, like, as you're playing the music and making the music, it is kind of a mashup of all these different sounds from when I'm younger, put into my own little thing. And then it's like that creates the Morgan Seatree sound, I guess.
That's amazing. I mean, Disclosure is behind a lot of people getting into EDM. So I got dragged to a Disclosure show. I only knew Latch at the time. Yeah. And a girl that I was dating at the time dragged me to the show. One of the best shows I have ever been to. Amazing.
And they're incredible performers, and like they, the way that they like conduct themselves and things, that's been a massive inspiration for also my performances. And when you come from being in the crowd, and like you said, you go to that show and you witness that, and you're like, you want to then take how that made you feel, so that when you're in that position, you can do the same thing for other people who are coming to watch you.
It's so incredible how music has that effect on us.
It's crazy, because you think back and like, like, I always think like, you see these videos of like people getting like proposed to in the crowd, like whilst your favorite artist is playing. Like, I've not had that happen to me yet, but I'm like, that would be the ultimate moment, because they're remembering that forever. Like you got engaged to your favorite DJ, and like, that's incredible.
Well, it may have happened in a crowd. You just don't know yet.
That's true.
Now, speaking of music, do you remember hearing one of your songs on the radio for the first time?
So funny with the radio side of things actually came because I've been making music, like I say, for around 10 years, and the radio stuff actually came quite late. Now in the UK, for us, there's like different levels to I would say radio, and like you've got like your top hitters, like your Radio Ones and your Capital Dances. For me, like as an artist, that's what I look at as like the ultimate sort of stations to get plays on. But before that, I was getting tunes featured on stations like Kiss FM and things like that. And I just remember like, it comes on in the car, and then whoever's introducing it, you hear your name for the first time. And I don't think you'll ever get bored of that feeling, hearing your voice, like saying, and this track is by Morgan Seatree or whatever. It's incredible. It's like such a surreal moment, because you make it like I'm here in my home studio, and you just make it at home, and then it travels all across the world and then you're seeing, people like are like, oh my God, this track's amazing. And how far music travels is the best.
It's so crazy. Now, this is going to be a little geeky of a question, but did it sound as good on the radio as it did when you were producing it?
Better, yeah. I think it sounds better. I think they put it through like these compressors that just make it sound beefier, don't they? And like because I went on the radio to do an interview, and I was like, my voice, I feel like a TV presenter.
Same.
Like, tonight on radio, you know what I mean? I feel like a presenter. It's great.
It's so funny how many times people come up to me and they're like, wow, you don't sound like you do on the radio.
Yeah.
Now, finally, in honor of the incredible success of Say My Name, it has the lyrics, say my name and every color illuminates. What's the first thing that makes every color illuminate for you?
Oh, I mean, for me, it's going to be a bit of a cheesy one, but like my fiance, Haley, she is like, for everything that I do is like, she's been there we've been together since school before I started DJing. So we've been on this whole journey together. We're actually getting married at the end of this year. And it's like, we're kind of seeing like the the struggles that we've been through, you know, when we were both younger, and then building this life for us that is like, you know, we can be proud of and like we can be comfortable is like the best thing. But that all comes from the team effort, you know, when I'm feeling down or whether I'm like, you know, there's days I go in the studio and I'm like, oh, it's not quite working. You know, you don't go in every day and write a hit. And then I'm like to her, I'm rubbish. I can't do it anymore. And she's like, well, you're not. Do you know what I mean? Just take you know, go back to it when the creativity comes. So yeah, having her for me I know is what's going to get me to the top, you know?
That's not cheesy at all. That was a perfect answer. And and happy early congratulations on the wedding.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Let's talk about this, Smash. It is so crazy that the original Florence and the Machine was like 15 years ago. How did this come together?
Yeah, so, and the best tracks, and I always say the best tracks have a story behind them, and there's always something that happens, and with this one, it was no different. So I was in the gym working out, you know, doing my thing. And remember like you said, the original from, I think 2012 maybe, or whenever it was, came on in the gym. And you know, it's that moment, that light bulb moment, like, wow, remember this tune? Like, because I remember, like, you know, how it made me feel. And I was like, I think the only person who did a sort of a dance remix of it was Calvin Harris. And that was a while back. So what I did is I had a quick sort of look online, just because whenever I do these things, I like to make sure that I'm kind of the only one giving it a fresh spin in recent time. So like if anyone's touched it in like the last 3 years, I won't go near it. I'll kind of leave it because I want it to be like, I think typically they don't do as good either, like, you know, but this wasn't even made to come out. This was literally a case of I heard it and I was like, this would be perfect for my shows. And I was in the studio and I thought, right, okay, I had to listen to Calvin's version. I was like, right, well, I need to make sure it's nothing like that, because sometimes you do have the temptations to kind of see what he's done and maybe try and follow that.
Right.
And I kind of took it completely different, and it came together so fast. And it was one of those moments where, you know, you've got something special when it clicks in like 2 hours, and the track was pretty much finished. And then from there, I was like, I kind of sat on it for a couple of weeks. I just kept listening to it at home. I was like, I'd never had that feeling with one of my productions before. Like, this is different. This made the hair stand up. This made me feel emotional almost. And I was like, I've not even played it live yet. So yeah, that's when I knew like this is going to be big.
And so how did it turn into an official release?
So then what happened was I played it at Creamfields and I posted a clip on my TikTok. And then Marlon Hofstad and Maluji, they both saw it and played it in the boiler room. And it was from then when the clips just started going viral. It started spreading to Australia, America, all over the UK. I had like a bunch of Americans in my inbox, like, dude, when are you releasing this track? Like, what?
So crazy.
And I was like, and I was just getting followers and followers from all over the world. This is while it was unreleased. And then we were like, damn, like, we've got to try and get Florence to agree to this now. And then the label that owned it, so Universal, they owned the Florence album. So like, if you try and go through another label that don't own it, you would have to get it resung. You wouldn't be able to use Florence's voice.
Gotcha.
So I was like, no, if this is going to happen, if it's going to be official, I want it to be with Florence. You know, I don't want to. Because we had a bunch of labels reaching out, trying to obviously get the track.
Right.
They all wanted it. And then I just left it with the label, and then luckily, kind of, it just got that big that I think they were just like, yeah, let's do it. And then she agreed to it, and it was just like from there. I'm glad that it's kind of gone the way it because I didn't want this to come out and it, you know, not do as well. If she's got her name on something, I want it to do well and stuff, and I'm so glad that it has.
And that's definitely taking a chance, because classics like that, a lot of times the original artist doesn't want to greenlight it.
Yeah, and also the people are very precious about, you know, if you do touch a classic, you've got to do justice on it. And I believe that I've done that. I think, well, judging by the reaction, I think it's done.
Yeah, you definitely did.
So, yeah, it was one of those ones where I think all the pieces of the puzzle just connected at the right time. And I was just going with, like I said, riding the wave.
Now, something I love to find out about songs is how many different versions there are from when you start working on it, all the tweaking that goes on to when you finally put it out. Do you remember what the final V was of Say My Name?
Yeah, like I'll be honest, because it had so much hype online, everyone was kind of happy with where it was. We just kind of, you know, got a mastering engineer just to bring it all together and get it sounding, you know, as good as it could be. From me making the track, that's the exact same version that I made. The label didn't come back and ask me to tweak anything, and neither did Florence. That is the version that came out of this studio here at home, and that's the version that came out.
That is amazing. So that probably answers my next question. Florence didn't have to re-record the vocals, right?
No, yeah, she was happy. She was happy with it. Yeah, it was. We used the acapella from, like you said, from 2012, and yeah, I just kind of went along with it. So yeah, it was great. I think as well, from my point of view, like I was just from the start been super grateful because, like, to someone of her level, I'm a nobody. So it's like, she must have liked it for one. And then, for two, I think it's just great that it's come out and done well.
Well, congratulations on the incredible success. That is amazing, the story behind it. What is next for Morgan Seatree?
So yeah, I mean, right now, we were kind of like looking like summer's coming up. Like, do we put more music out? But this track is still it's climbing the UK charts. So I'm like, anything that I put out now is like, it's not gonna, I'd rather just, let this do its track. Sometimes with certain records and certain hits, you do have to give them breathing space and just let people enjoy it and do their thing. And until this starts kind of going down, I've got plenty of music. We're kind of discussing maybe what we think is going to be next with me and the label. But like at the moment, we're just kind of letting this keep growing. And it is like we went through a phase because we're now like December. So we're nearly we're 5 months since this has been released. And it's gone from like it kind of when it obviously had the initial peak. Then it kind of stagnated and went down a tiny bit. And then now that summer's obviously beginning here in the UK and all the parties are coming across the world, it's just climbing because people are then, they're out with their friends making memories to this track. So yeah, I think we'll probably maybe put something out around August time, I think, or maybe like June, like July, probably July, August, and yeah, just see what happens from there.
Well, let me just say, as a radio programmer, I can't thank you enough for that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, DJs and producers, they're just throwing everything out there to see what's going to hit. And then as a programmer, I'm like, oh my God, how do I play all these?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, and like you say, I think you want to do quality over quantity now, So yeah, I definitely think that's key.
Well, congratulations. Before I let you go, I've got a new feature here on America's Dance 30 that I got to test out with you. I asked ChatGPT to give me a question that Morgan Seatree has never been asked before. So I want to test this out and see if it's real, all right?
Oh, okay.
Which one of your unreleased songs do you think would resonate most with someone living on Mars, and why?
Wow. Okay, wow, that is definitely a question that you've never been asked before. And it's unreleased, right? So it's a track that no one's heard.
Right.
Okay, so here's my thinking. I've got a track that I wrote a long time ago, and I make quite upbeat tempo, high energy music, but I did make a track a while ago just for fun. It will never come out. And I don't even think it's got a name, right? But it's quite a chilled track. So my thinking is if someone's living on Mars, they're going to be really hot. So they're going to need something. They're going to need something that's going to like chill them out and cool them down. And yeah, so that's the track. And for this sake, we're going to call it #AD Mars track.
I love it. Morgan, it is so awesome chatting with you and finally getting to meet you. Congratulations on the incredible success of Say My Name.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, hopefully I'm actually going to be doing a massive tour in America in November, visiting a bunch of places. So yeah, hopefully not the last time that we chat and maybe bump into each other.
Absolutely. Hopefully get to see you in real life. Thank you so much for your time with us on America's Dance 30.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.